Hey guys, welcome back. If you are new here, my name is Amber, and in today's video I am actually going to be transforming a vintage stereo cabinet that my dad legitimately found at the dump. He was at the dump and some other guy was getting ready to toss this out and he took it. I did do some research on it. It is from 1951, it's mahogany, and I will insert pictures of what it originally looked like in its prime, as well as a little kind of like ad that I found from back in the day. All this I found on Google. It's a Capehart Chippendale Phonograph Cabinet. If you have not already subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button and bell notification, and give this video a thumbs up if you like it. With all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I started by removing all the hardware as well as the front cabinet doors, and then I removed the little pull-out tray which a turntable used to originally sit on. As you can see, this cabinet did already have some modifications made to it. I'm just going to be using the materials that they put in there, but just kind of upgrading it and making them fit a little bit better. I went in with some clean stripper on the top. It is veneer and it was really damaged. It had some pretty deep scratches and gouges, but I wanted to attempt to save at least a little bit of the wood on there. So I applied a coat of stripper to it, and then I went back with a plastic putty knife and scraped it off. However, my first round of stripper, it kind of dried out. It was a pretty warm day, so I went in with a second round of stripper and it came off pretty easily. I then went in with some afterwash and some fine grade steel wool and scrubbed off any residual stripper and gunk that was left behind. I then gave the entire piece a good clean with a Sunnyside TSP substitute. After I was done cleaning it, I wiped it off with just some clear water, and then this is what it looked like when I was done. That water was pretty gross. Then, using my orbital sander, I started with a 120 grit and just worked my way through to try to get as much of the finish off and sand out as many of the scratches as I could without burning through the veneer. Then, using my palm sander, I just gave the rest of the piece a good light scuff sand to try to remove any texture or imperfections to make sure my paint would adhere correctly. So the entire base was really beat up. Well, the whole piece was actually really beat up. So I just covered the whole base in wood filler, and instantly the wood tannin started bleeding through. This is when I realized it was mahogany and that we were going to have issues in the future, which you guys will see. Since I'm going to be staining the top, I am using some walnut colored wood filler to fill in some of the deep gouges to try to camouflage those in. This piece of wood was originally just sitting in there, but it sat too high, it wasn't flush, so I stuck it underneath and I am tracing out the square so that I can cut it to size on my table saw. Sorry, my big head is kind of in the way, but you get the idea. I then flipped the cabinet over and I found a scrap piece of wood in the garage that I cut down, also on the table saw, and I'm just applying some Gorilla Glue, and I'm going to glue this piece of wood on the underneath side so that I can set the piece that I just cut down into the square and it will rest on this piece of wood, and I then went in with my brad nailer and then just secured it in place with the nails and the glue so I know it would support the weight of the wood and whatever people put on top of it. So even though I used the shortest nails that I had for my gun, they still kind of poke through the end. So I'm just taking this little punch and just bending the nails to the side so that they'll sink down. And then I went in and I just filled those little dents with wood filler and sanded that smooth. Using some more Gorilla Glue, I squirted it all over the underside of that board that I put on, and then I was ready to set my cut board into place. It was a pretty good fit. There was a little bit of a gap, which I will fill with some Bondo to help hide that. And then after I let my Bondo dry, I did go back and sand everything smooth with my orbital sander. I taped off all the areas I wanted to keep paint free with some frog tape, and then I applied 5 coats of Zinsser Ben Shellac primer with my foam roller. This thing was bleeding like crazy. I actually had to do a coat of straight shellac as well. I used the brush-on shellac. However, I was so annoyed by it and the whole process that I didn't even record it. But it was a total of 5 coats of shellac-based primer plus 1 coat of straight shellac. You guys can actually see the bleed through happening as I'm putting on the primer, especially towards the back edge. It's really coming through. Yeah, mahogany is not a fun piece. I don't think I want to do a mahogany piece again for a long time. This is what the bleed through looked like after 1 full coat of primer. While I was waiting for my primer to dry on the frame, I decided to go ahead and add some edge banding onto the top of that board that went on the little pull-out tray. I did cut a little bit of the side off so that it would fit in there evenly. And I'm just ironing on the edge banding, and then I took an edge band trimmer, which I got off of Amazon, and I'm just trimming off the excess so that it's flush. I then glued and clamped it to the little drawer slide out and let it dry overnight. I used some paintable caulk to fill in the edge where I had glued the board back to the little pull-out tray. I was almost out of the tube, so I made it work and then just kind of pushed it in and smoothed it out with my finger. I am using the color Restoration Bronze from Mélange. It's one of their new colors that just released last month. It's a really interesting color. It's kind of like a brown, hence the bronze, but it's one of those colors that looks different in different lighting. It has green and brown undertones, so it's a really good neutral if you want something that's a little bit different than just like gray or normal, just straight brown or white or black or something like that. For the top, I chose Verithane's water-based wood stain in dark walnut, and it does say on the can that you need to apply this with a rag. It specifically says not to apply this with like a foam brush or anything like that, so you just rub it in circles and then wipe back any excess. I then went in with the detail brush just to touch up any little edges. To seal and protect everything, I'm using Polyvine Wax Varnish in Dead Flat. I then took some Dixie Belle's Big Mama's Butter and the scent Orange Clove and a microfiber cloth and just rubbed it into the inside wood panels that I did not paint to help just bring the wood back to life and just freshen up everything. I decided to add some knobs to the door instead of just having the handles, which I am reusing, and then I spray painted everything to match. This didn't have a backing on it when I got it, so I went to Home Depot and got a piece of plywood, cut it down to size on my table saw, and then before I attached it, I figured it'd be easier to line it with the peel and stick contact paper that I wanted to put on it, and then just using the brad nailer, I nailed it to the back of the frame. Before we get into the final reveal, let's take a look back to remember what this piece started as. And here is the final reveal. Let me know what you guys think. As always, if you have any questions or anything, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next weekend with another flip.